Cheers.
Cheers. Mine is just tea though.
Yours is just tea.
Yes, because I am a good boy.
Always.
Labels, who needs them? Good, bad, evil, naughty? Get rid of them.
Where do we start?
Well, why don't you start with why you asked, like you said, let's do this webinar for a reason. And when you've been observing training sessions, maybe at Clicker Expo or some other places, or some of my workshop, the practical stuff, kind of the discussions that come out of it. And if you watch sometimes trainers train, there's different styles, if you want to call it, or applications of the basic principles and of the science. And so sometimes you look at it, you see trainers who bring an animal out, and it's a very structured training session, I would say. And not to say actually training the other side of it, if we go more liquid, it's not structured. There is still probably quite a lot of structure, but it in terms of more narrow band, more rigid, dog comes out, we're focusing on a nose touch or a chin target, and we focus on how we've arranged the environment for that and reinforcing all of those. And then you can maybe see sometimes when I'm training, I do some of that, but I also do a lot of, it looks like 50 things are going on, and it's not as, it looks a bit chaotic, but maybe it's not as chaotic underneath the layers. So it was almost starting to discuss that. So yeah, do you want to kind of introduce your take on it, or what you observed when you started to?
Yeah, and I think it's so important that we start this discussion from observations, that training might look different. Training sessions seem to flow different. And I think for me personally, I come from a background of having done a lot of work with how to structure training sessions and how to build seamlessness into training sessions, and how to help students, help trainers see what's going on in a training session and make decisions in a training session with like limited choices and sort of highly structured training as a helping aid in that. So I have like a ton of experience in really structuring training sessions so that there are few and clear options for the trainer. And then I'm realizing two things, and partly from watching a lot of your training, which is like inspirational for me when it's similar yet different from what I'm doing. It's often similar goals, but different approach. My go-to often is to start narrow and small, and your go-to often is to have a less obvious structure path in the session. The awareness that training can be phenomenal in many different ways. It isn't that good, bad, this, that. It's not even a strict, this is one type of training, this is another. It's like a spectrum with many different opportunities. So getting the chance to go, okay, let's discuss this area of choice decision making for trainers, and like what training might look like, what sessions might look like.
A trainer who has the ability to work the spectrum has more tools in their toolbox, and the ability to help or work with more behavior, more environmental conditions they come across. Not going into a session with, it has to look like this, and you start feeding other behaviors, suddenly that is the environmental arrangement for promoting the behavior you want. So like Eva said, picking up something, and then you can start to reinforce that topography and work from that, as opposed to going, I'm struggling to be able to set the environment, how do I get it? If you're more loose, suddenly that looseness can be the arrangement. So I think this video demonstrates that really well.